This is the day after Election Day, and the voters may be, as the saying goes, mad as hell. But the fact of the matter is, they seem willing to take it at least a while longer. Only one incumbent senator has lost his seat, as Charlie said. And with all 435 House seats up for grabs, only 13 incumbents lost there. Although some were actually very, very close races in some surprising places. Here's our Capitol Hill correspondent, Sheila Cast.
It looked for a while as if the House's #2 Republican might fall to an anti-incumbent mood. Georgia's 6th congressional district gave Newt Gingrich a razor-thin margin, only about 1,000 votes, apparently reflecting a feeling that he spends too much time on national issues and not enough time on the folks at home.
I do think, in all seriousness, I think the people, not just of Georgia but around the country, have sent a very strong signal that they do want their elected officials to pay attention, that they do feel a strong sense that they're not getting their voice heard.
But the real message might be something different. Not that Gingrich almost lost, but that he ultimately won, and so did all but a handful of House incumbents, and all but one incumbent senator. One after another, incumbents claimed victory in those Senate races that had looked so close. In Massachusetts, Democrat Kerry over businessman Jim Rappaport. In Hawaii, Democrat Akaka over Congresswoman Pat Saiki. In Oregon, Republican Mark Hatfield over entrepreneur Harry Lonsdale. And in North Carolina, Republican Helms over former Mayor Harvey Gantt. Helms claimed he did not win on the issue of race, but on liberalism.
The mighty, ultra-liberal establishment, the liberal politicians and editors and commentators and columnists have struck out again.
Among the issues in North Carolina was abortion. Helms opposes it. But in most tight races, such as the one in Iowa, where Democratic incumbent Harkin triumphed over Congressman Tom Talkey, the victory went to the candidate who favors abortion rights. Voters seem angry over taxes. In New Jersey, Democrat incumbent Bill Bradley won only a narrow victory over county legislator Christine Whitman, who tied him to state and federal tax hikes. Still, voters did not turn out wholesale the incumbents who voted for federal tax increases 10 days ago. The one Senate incumbent who lost was Minnesota Republican Boschwitz. His Democratic opponent, Paul Wellstone, attacked him for special interest campaign contributions. So now both parties will claim victory. Democrats because they picked up some seats in the Congress, and Republicans because the Democrats picked up fewer than is typical in an off-year election. Mike?
Well, Sheila, once the campaign starts to fade away, what are we actually likely to see in the way Congress is structured and the way it goes about its business next time around?
Well, you're going to see marginally more Democrats, which means, for example, in the Senate, there'll be one more Democratic vote that President Bush will have to keep in line if he wants to keep his vetoes upheld, as he has so far. But primarily what you're going to see is a memory among these incumbents of how close some of their races were, and that might make them more attuned to the messages that they're getting from voters. It may make the Democrats want to do more to bring home the tax fairness issue that they tried to inculcate during the budget. We'll probably see things like that.
This campaign may be over, but the politics has probably just begun. Thank you, Sheila. ABC's Sheila Cast, live on Capitol Hill. Now on to the gubernatorial races this morning. The Republicans have won the biggest battle, but apparently they have lost the war. The biggest battle was in California, where Republican Senator Pete Wilson has defeated former San Francisco Mayor Dianne Feinstein. But overall, the Democrats won 2 more governor's mansions than they lost in the 90 vote. ABC's Mike Von Frem with the State House story.
To the surprise of pollsters, the Florida race wasn't even close. Democrat Lawton Chiles, the former senator, easily beat Republican incumbent Bob Martinez, who angered many Florida voters when he tried to raise taxes and restrict abortion rights.
I think that ultimately just people decided that they wanted, new leadership, that they weren't happy with the state the way it was.
But as predicted, Massachusetts was a squeaker. Republican William Weld came from behind and narrowly edged out John Silber, who may have suffered from one too many acid-tongue remarks. In Connecticut, Lowell Weicker, who was a maverick when he was a Republican senator, ran for governor as an independent and an outsider, and he won the 3-man race, beating Democratic and Republican opponents. In Kansas, Joan Finney, a Democrat who opposes abortion, beat Republican incumbent Mike Hayden, who supported a woman's right to abortion. In Illinois, Republican Jim Edgar, who suggested that he might have to support a tax hike, beat Democrat Neil Hartigan, who promised voters he would not raise their taxes. And in what was perhaps the nastiest governor's race in the nation, Democrat Ann Richards beat Republican Clayton Williams, who conceded he just could not control his mouth.
Well, I just would shoot myself in the foot, and then I'd load up and try it again. I hold no blame against anyone.
But he probably blames himself for spending $8 million of his own money, and he's not going to be the one sitting in the governor's office here in Austin. And that so-called Bubba vote that was supposed to go for a candidate who fancied himself as a John Wayne went instead for a woman, the first time in Texas's history in more than 50 years.
ABC's Mike Von Fram live for us this morning in Austin, Texas. There was also voting on a number of propositions yesterday as well. In California, Oregon, Missouri, environmental propositions were voted down. That includes the sweeping proposition known as Big Green in California. Nevada residents backed more liberal abortion laws, and so did Oregon. Colorado voters approved limits on the terms of politicians, including U.S. senators and congressmen. This move obviously is going to be challenged now on constitutional grounds. And voters out in Arizona voted down a proposal to make Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday a paid holiday, replacing Columbus Day. Another proposal which would have added a King holiday and kept Columbus Day is still considered to be too close to call. And finally, in Alaska, voters have now made possession of marijuana illegal for the first time in some 15 years. More on the political fallout a little bit later on Good Morning America with our ABC News political director, Hal Bruno. That is the news till